Welcome back to the Imperfectionist Beauty podcast. I'm super excited because today we are talking with Morgan, and her brand's name is Ida Jane. And I'm gonna let Morgan introduce herself and tell herself a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So, like she said, my name is Morgan, but I've been doing lashes for over a decade, which seems crazy now because I probably have serviced over 2,000 people, at least, right? And so it's crazy to think
Wow.
about that, but yeah, I definitely love this industry and being able to get started. I got started back when it wasn't super popular, so I've seen it change a lot, and a lot of the things that we've been doing and how volume lashes came to be and mega volume lashes came to be, which is crazy as well. But I've kind of moved all over the states a little bit. I started in Alaska, Minnesota, and now I'm here in Arizona again, where I was born and raised. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, a little bit about my brand as I got started doing lashes thinking it'd be a side hobby, and then turned out to be super amazing and loved it. And my clientele grew really fast. And so because of that, I was like, I should probably continue to pursue this. So I went to cosmetology school and got my license that way. And then I just kept running with it, started a product line because when I was at cosmetology school, a lot of my instructors actually were like, hey, can you teach me how to do lashes? So I taught all of my instructors and all of my friends how to do lashes and started a training program because of that, as well as a product line to go along with it. So it's been a lot of fun being able to train and mentor and get down on deeper levels of our business. And I think that that's absolutely my favorite part, is starting the business part for so many people and helping them in that industry part.
That is amazing. I didn't know you've been in it for 10 years. Wow.
Yes, just
Okay.
over 10 years actually, which is crazy and fun.
That's so good because you've seen it change so much then. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. You want to think about 2013 was the year that I started. I had gotten trained, of course, out of somebody's living room here in Arizona for way too cheap, and it started rough, right? Like I feel like most trainings do when you just don't know what you're getting into or what to look for in a training. And then I was just like, well, I got to figure this out because I really like it, and it's kind of cool when you do one lash really well. You're like, okay, yay, there's hope.
Yeah,
And so
exactly. And
just
you
going
said
from
that
there.
you've serviced how many clients?
Probably over 2,000. And I wish in my beginning days that I did a better job at doing the back end part of the business, like being able to keep track of my clients and how I would do that in the back end, because I didn't, and I didn't have paperwork back then, any of that kind of stuff. And I wish that I was better at that so I could know that exact number and celebrate that more you know, authentically. But I just don't know exactly that precise number. But it's had to be. Let's see. So when I was in Alaska, I did lashes there for 3 years, and I had over 65 consistent clients that I'd be seeing every 2 to 3 weeks. I like, I feel like most people do this in their beginning days, where you jam pack your hours, and then you're like, this is awesome, and it's going good for a moment, and then you're like, frick, I can never get a holiday. I'm never going to the movies again. I'm not doing anything. I even remember at one point my husband, because I had just gotten married when I learned lashes. My husband he works on the oil rigs in Alaska, so when he would come home for the 2 weeks, he'd be like, "So, are we gonna have a night to relax and chill and do something together?" And I was like, "Frick, we should have scheduled that out 3 weeks."
You're like, you're gonna have to work around my schedule.
Literally, that's where I got to, and I was like, frick, okay, this is a good problem to have, but also a bad problem. And what does that look like then for being married now? And all that kind of stuff. And how do I make sure that there's still a balance? And so that's when I started recognizing that raising your prices is important. And when to do that and how to do that could be challenging, but that's definitely something that you're going to want to figure out.
Yes. So because now I want to pick your brain. Okay, so you've took so many clients, so that means that you've literally started from what was your first starting point, like price point at?
My fills were $45
Okay.
and my full sets were 95 to start. And then I went up to 120 for full sets. And then I went up to like 65 for fills for a good while. And then I really lingered around 85 for so long after like a certain point because I really had this like limiting belief that like people aren't going to want to pay more. And if I was working from home, which I was for a good while, is that people aren't going to want to pay more if I'm at my house and out of my house. Um, and so it was really interesting because I think that there's a ton of limiting beliefs around that. And there's so much more evidence to support whatever you want to believe, to be honest, right?
It's
So
so
let's
true.
pretend like you are being a lash artist from home and you have this limiting belief of people aren't going to pay more than whatever that number is, okay? Well, what if we actually choose to think differently and choose to believe that, well, what if people want to come to my house and they're willing to pay more because it's a very intimate and private session for them? People might
Hmm.
actually find that more enjoyable than having to go to the salon, be all haughty toddy around other people, and like look to a certain standard. What if they don't want that? What if they want to be able to like just come and relax at your space and it's more private? You set it up very like appropriate for that type of environment if you're wanting to charge more and things that way and accommodate to that. Figure out how that's going to be the best for you to show up the best and service that client in the best way possible so that you can charge more. I don't see why not, you
Exactly.
know? So,
Exactly. And
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people don't realize that you can do that because me being from Oregon, it's very, you don't run a salon from home. You know what I mean? So when I came to Arizona and when I was thinking about like taking services from my house, like I was shook. I was like, "Oh my god, what am I going to do? Like people are going to judge me because of it and things like that." And more people that I talk to around Arizona, and you were one of them, they're like, "Do it. Go for it." And I'm like, "Oh, you're not going to like judge me. You're not going to like say anything because in Oregon, it's just so different. There's so many more rules, way more stricter when it comes to that. And another thing that I don't think a lot of people know is you are like superwoman, first of all, because you run a business, you have children, your husband works on an oil rig, like you do a lot. So for you to be able to do that from home, a lot of people don't think about that. You know what I mean? So it's like you can be able to run a business from home. You don't have to do what all the industry says, like everyone says. So just thinking outside the box really does help. And yeah, if you want to run a business from home, do it. And I love that you
Yeah,
did
I think
it.
you Right. I think that you can. It's definitely a culture thing, like you were saying, from Oregon to
Yes,
Arizona, definitely different in cultures. You could
a
even
hundred
talk about
percent.
style wise culturally, right? So, like, styles
Yes.
here are so different compared to what Oregon are doing in California and Utah, even like price wise, even. I mean, now I'm in a studio, and when I got into the studio is this year, actually in July, it was such an energy shift for me that like I felt so more aligned with what I've been trying to do for my business and the thought process that I've had around it for so long that doors just started opening up in my mind of aligning all these things for me of realizing like no actually that was a limiting belief before. I don't know why I thought that or thought that that was the case type of thing. And so it's been really interesting because yeah now I'm trying to be the bougiest lash artist in my area. And it's been really interesting breaking some of those limiting beliefs as well. um, yeah, it definitely can be done, and there's really cool things to it. So,
Exactly. So what are you doing for yourself to like make yourself set apart and make yourself like the bougiest lash artist in the area?
so one thing that I realized is that doing it for 10 years, there's definitely things that make me me. And it used to sound so
Yes.
cliche to me when I would see people on social media talking about like you can charge whatever you want because people are willing to come to you for you, and that's it. And I used to be like, I ain't no special thing. Like I don't got like Like what would set me apart? Like I didn't understand what set me apart. And that was the biggest thing of me realizing and figuring out. And it took some time doing that. And actually, my sister and I had been doing each other's lashes for years. It was really easy to trade that way. And then we had a little bit of an issue, just like with timing wise around Christmas and holidays. And so we ended up having to be able to go find other lash artists. And so during that time, it was really eye opening because I didn't realize all the things that I do that set me apart from the lash artists in my area. And there were some crucial things, like retention is clearly one of them. Finding another lash artist that's able to get retention where it's lasting 3 to 4 weeks for the majority of their clients was actually kind of really difficult to find. As well as somebody that understands their business point of like their touch points for clientele, compared to even just like the setup of how the flow goes for their appointment is actually something that I've realized that I do so differently. For instance, let's talk about some of those touch points. So when somebody's coming to me or showing interest in my business, I do a video consultation with them first and always. I then have, yeah, I didn't know this was such a big thing. And
I
so,
like that though. I
well,
like that a
and I
lot.
really, really believe that this is a key ingredient to not having no shows, last minute cancellations, reschedulers, like late people. Like, I think this is a key thing for developing that relationship right away and understanding and have that connection point to move forward in a better flow so your client knows who you are. I can't tell you how many times I found somebody on social media that I was like, oh, I think that they could do my lashes, but there's no picture of that person on their feed, or there's no picture of what their space looks like on their feed. Now I get that they're like nervous to put their picture on them of themselves on social media, or a picture of their home if they're doing it from home, but there's so many little things that you could be showing that don't reveal the full picture of you or the full picture of your setup, but still gives enough like safe space for that person to be like, I want to go to that lash artist, right? I
Mhm.
realized that I would like have like little anxieties when going to these other lash artists because I don't know who they are. I don't know their house, and they're like dragging me through their house. And I'm like, who else is in this house that's gonna come do something to me? Like, I have no clue. Like, all the fears just start coming up. And I recognize that I'm probably just like an over communicator and really into the details. And that's what's setting me apart.
But that's good because that's what people want. Because as me, I'm not someone that's going to be coming to somebody's house and not know what they look like, not know where their services are going to be held at. Who is else going to be in the house? Like, I have big dogs. Not everybody likes big dogs. You know what I mean? So it's things like that that you do have to be considerate of when you do like are running your space from home, is because
Yeah.
not everybody is going to like what you like per se. So you have to make it more intimate where it's inviting for everyone if you are going to be running it from home for sure. Um, what was some things that you, because how many years were you running your space from home?
I was running my space from home for 9 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I
Did,
started when I was in Alaska, on a college campus, and we had a studio apartment, and I would just like whip out the massage table, like fold it out, real quick in my living room, do their lashes, and then put it away. And then it got to be where it was like consistently left out all the time, and then just where I was like, okay, I really like this. So then we got an apartment with 2 rooms, and I had a specific room for it. And then we moved to Minnesota, and in Minnesota, I had my in-laws had a gazebo, and that's where I would do lashes out of, for a long time. And then when we moved to Arizona, we had a spare bedroom that I'd lash out of, and we made that work, and we're able to accommodate for that. So yeah, with
wow.
3 littles even, it's possible to have 3 littles. I have 2 dogs as well. So I think it's really just understanding that like, yeah, that's my scenario and I've made it work for sure. It's totally possible. But understanding those touch points that your client's experiencing is so important. So like making sure that they're aware that I have dogs before they ever come to the appointment, and that that's okay with them, that they're not allergic to it all of a sudden or who knows what, where they should park when they come to my house, like just all these little touch points that they're gonna have to walk through of being aware of like how my house would smell, how clean it would look, where they would be looking when they come in, what they would have to walk through to get to the point of where we're lashing at. Just lots of different elements that way that you really want to consider and be aware of so that you can have a successful relationship with your clients.
Exactly. And I think that this really ties into the laws changing in Arizona. So I haven't been, have you been following up with it recently? Okay, because I haven't.
Not as of like the last month. I probably should recheck on the board site, but I did go to one of the hearings, and so that was really interesting and insightful. Because yeah, so for those that don't know, the Arizona lash laws are changing, and as of October, I think it was 31st, they decided that they were putting it up in review, and what that meant, or not, yeah, up in review, to where that meant that people who were getting their esthetician license or cosmetology license no longer necessarily qualified for like being able to do lashes if they got their license from like October 31st till March something rather, when they're trying to review this stuff, is what I believe they were saying. And now there's a lot of things up in the air with that information, because it's just like, well, what does that mean? Where's the pause? What pause on what, basically, of the lash licensing that way? So it's interesting because there's lots of theories going around from so many different viewpoints and opinions and thoughts around what's actually listed on the Board of Cosmetology, or the Board of Arizona Cosmetology, on their website. So it is important to go and review that for yourself. And depending on what you're trying to do with your business, I would recommend that your attorney also look over it with you if you have questions for how you're doing things, right?
So,
But,
and from, I was going
go
to
ahead.
say, correct me if I'm wrong, but that means that if you basically want to become a lash artist, that you just need to go to a school or somewhere that is approved by the state to get certified. That means that you wouldn't have to go to school to become an esthetician. That means that you would just be only solely doing lashes, correct? If you were to take this new course,
yes. So if you want, let's pretend you wanted to be a lash artist right now in the state of Arizona. You're brand new. You don't have any esthetician or cosmetology license whatsoever. You cannot actually go and get trained in lashes right now and be like qualified to go and do lashes right now. So the board is reviewing what they want their laws and rules to really look like. They don't even know for certain, to be quite honest. When I went to the hearing, it was really insightful because they talked about how this, what did they call it? Now I'm not using proper terms, dang it. So, but like, okay, so in March, when they are getting to finalize and take it to the court to get approved, basically, that we are wanting to have different licensing statutes within Arizona. So meaning, like, if you're a cosmetologist, you'd be able to cover like just a lot of hair and esthetician and like basic knowledge of each stuff. I don't know for certain that that's actually going to cover lashing anymore. I don't know that for certain, right? We just don't know. Esthetician wise, you wouldn't qualify for lash extensions. You'd have to go and get a different lash license for that. And that's if you're just starting out, right? So if you already have an esthetician license, if you already have a cosmetology license, we get grandfathered in if you're doing your paperwork and staying up to date on all of your stuff, right? But if you are an esthetician and wanting to do lashes later down the road, then you're going to need to go and get just the lash license. That's what they're trying to do, is just making lash licensing its own license. That way you don't have to go to cosmetology school and do, what is it, like 1,700 hours or something like that, right? You can just go for a lash license. What they're saying around the lash license is that they're thinking it's probably going to be around 30 hours that you would have to complete. So it's nothing extra major, if I'm being quite honest. That's not even a full work week, right?
All.
So
yeah,
there's definitely still information that I think that needs to be had. They're having, they have it listed on the website of what they're thinking the regulations might look like, or the parameters that you would need for training to qualify to be approved to be accreditation for the licensing for people. Does that make sense? But
yeah,
the weird and crazy thing is like, okay, let's go and pretend that this gets approved in March. Okay, it's approved in March, but now we don't have all the like people accredited to start licensing people. We don't have anybody accredited for doing the next steps. And so then it becomes another waiting game. We now then have to like review that, understand what that looks like, and then submit it to get approved basically, and like taking action on it, and then it will get set. So that means like if you're wanting to learn lashes right now in the state of Arizona and be licensed and qualified for doing all that, like you might not actually get licensed to be able to do that until, let's say, 2025, when everything's said and done and set in stone.
That sucks because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to in Arizona and they're like, I want to become a lash artist, but I don't know what to do. I'm in limbo because of the laws, and I don't want to go to school for an esthetician because I don't want to become an esthetician. I just want to do lashes. That's it. I don't care about skin, whatever else. But then it's like, who would you even go to get certified from? You know what I mean? Because don't they have to be state approved?
So
And
my understanding around certification is that certification is okay. This might be very controversial.
do it. Let's talk. Let's say it.
These might just also be my thoughts. I don't know how factual they are. Okay.
Yeah.
So we might need to do some backtracking on understanding this more. But my thoughts is that certification just means that somebody wrote on Canva, "You're certified," and then printed it out and gave it to you. So because of that, certification means jack crap to me. And so because of that, like, sure, you can go get certified anywhere. You could literally certify yourself and nobody would know the difference. To get started, if we're being very frank and honest, you know,
yeah,
who's gonna know that whatever brand certified you? I've never heard of that brand. Cool, good for you. There's so many trainers that I'm like, I've never heard of that trainer. I have no clue if that's a real person or not. Cool, that's amazing. Great for you. You're getting started.
Exactly.
You know? So I understand that wanting to license and like doing that and have accreditation that way regarding lash laws within Arizona. Certification means nothing. Unfortunately, there is such a huge limbo for people who aren't currently an esthetician or cosmetologist. So if you're wanting to start lashes, you really are out of luck until everything's finalized. And at that point, maybe you go to another state to learn lashes and then come back, or something like that. I don't know. And that's where it's like, okay, there's lots of, I believe, little gray areas. And my thoughts are very controversial around it. Yeah.
I feel
this. Want to go, Michelle?
I mean, let's go, because I feel the same way. So I personally feel like, take all of it aside, okay? When I got my lashes done the first time, I knew I was going to do it. I knew I was going to put my fucking all into it. So there was no way that I wasn't going to go get the license, you know what I mean? Because I knew that, like, in the back of my mind, I was done. I was a GM for McDonald's for years. I was done managing people. I was done being told what to do. I was just done. So yeah. I was like, I'm going to make it happen, and I don't care what I have to do to make it happen. But I also wanted to be legit, you know? But also, Oregon didn't have this big gray-ass area that Arizona does. So that's why I went to esthetician school. I got the license, and I fell in love with skin, which I'm very thankful that I know about skin, and I learned that from school. But when it comes to being an educator like myself and other educators, if I didn't know that I 1000% knew that I was going to do lashes, please don't go spend fucking $12,000 and become an esthetician and then go spend another $2 or $3 grand on lashes and then figure out you freaking hate it. You just spent so much money.
Yeah,
and so much money.
Right, that's exactly what I did in a back way. So like I learned how to do lashes because I didn't know that there was regulation at all or anything like that going
Yeah.
on. And it was some gray areas because lashes were newer in the industry. And so moving forward, then it was like, okay, well, I know that I really like this and I want to pursue this. And I was actually going to school for civil engineering actually in Alaska. And that's such a different like trail that I would have gone on or a path, right, for my journey. And so that's when I really recognized that, like, okay, I've actually grown up for years loving doing hair, loving doing skin. I was on the team for volleyball and I did everybody's hair braiding it before a game. I would do my friends' nails constantly on the weekend. Like, I just recognized that I actually have a passion for this and have always swallowed that. Probably just because I've heard my parents say, oh, your cousin's going to go do cosmetology, or, it's just not well to do type of thing mentality in my home of how we grew up. And so my family, we very are achievers, and like success in that status of a certain way is really important. And so it was like, yep, my next step is to go to college, and then I'm gonna have my volleyball scholarship paid for that. And like these were the dots that I had to hit on my trail basically. And so I was doing that for so long until I found lashes and was like, this is awesome, I love this, I need to change this path. And that's when I was like, I better go to cosmetology school. So yeah, I went to cosmetology school, spent like $20,000, and did it all. And I have not done one thing with hair, waxing, skin whatsoever after I've gotten my license, and just have done lashes. Am I like envious or annoyed that I spent that much? No, I have it to fall back on. That's cool. And like, did I love it? Yeah, I still loved it, even though the money sucked, but like, it's the path that you have to take. And the interesting part, this is where we could get more controversial if we really wanted. But like the interesting part is when I went to beauty school, I was 2 weeks away from graduating, and from graduating, my beauty school that I went to, which was nationwide, there's 86 campuses nationwide, it actually went bankrupt and closed randomly. So we were like about to go to school on a Tuesday the next day, and we woke up to a message being like, school's canceled. So all my friends are like, they're not letting us get into the building to get our stuff. Like just all this random stuff and craziness was going on. And there was a lot of like, just like, what the frick is happening moments. It was very surreal. And so during that time, we were all in limbo for like a few weeks figuring out what school we're going to. And I'm like, I have 2 weeks to graduate, and who knows what if my information's going to transfer correctly, that I did everything, that I've met all the requirements, like all this stuff already. And we ended up finding another school in Lakeville, Minnesota, and they were able to take us students and take care of us, and they were amazing. But one of the hairstylists that was very well known, Nino Altabelli. The Altabelli family is very popular within Minnesota for sure. They own several salons, and are just they work with a lot of celebrity hairstyles, or celebrity clients for hairstyles. And Nino Altabelli, decided to come to Lakeville, Minnesota, School of Beauty, and he taught us how to do hair. And there was so much that we didn't learn correctly, right? He was teaching us what he had learned from years of doing hair, all that kind of stuff. But he was very controversial in believing that we actually need licenses regarding hair, regarding so much of the beauty industry. So it's challenging for me at times to hear us say that, like, oh, it needs to be licensed, because I've been mentored by an amazing mentor that really believes that none of this should be licensed. And so that's my controversial thought, is like, I believe the cream of the crop will always rise to the top. And if you want to be good and you want to do this thing, you're going to rise to the top and be freaking amazing. And you're going to figure out how to make sure that you're not, infecting people, and that you're doing things properly, and like all this stuff, you're going to make sure you do, because you're the cream, right? Whereas
Exactly.
everybody else who does it for the money, or does it for who knows what as a side hobby, you're not going to rise to the top. And it's going to show at some point within your career.
It's so true. And I feel like, I mean, I agree with them too, about the whole licensing thing. And when it really comes down to it, it's like you said, like you can obviously learn. You're gonna learn. There's so much more information out there than there was 10 years ago when you started, or 5 years ago when I started, about lash education, skin, just sanitation, and everything else. Like if you really, really wanted to, you could literally figure it all out, start to finish, and be as good as us. Just you have to invest yourself in your time. But when it comes down to it, all the stuff, if we want to run a legit American business and have tax write-offs and things like that, that's where that licensing does come into play. That's where you need that tax ID and things like that. And it's like, I'm not gonna lie, like we could write off a lot of stuff when it comes to business. You know what I mean? And that's where that licensing does come into play, unfortunately. And it sucks that they kind of have put us in that way, but that's just the way the world works. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And a lot of people are going to be like, really? But it's true. It's like, if you really want to go do something, then do it.
Right. I agree. And it's interesting because Nino Altobelli, his thought was always telling us that, like, there are chefs that don't have to get their own license, yet they are working with our food and could literally poison us or do whatever, and they know none the difference because they didn't go through a licensing process. It's really so just true. Like, that kind of put it into a different perspective of understanding, like, there's chefs everywhere in every restaurant that are not like licensed at all, yet dealing with hair, cutting hair. You have to have a license and go for 1,700 hours. That's like almost a full year for people. Like, I don't know. It's really interesting. So, and I'm not judging anybody. Money. Right. And I'm not judging anybody who believes differently that it needs to be licensed and stuff. I believe that there are definitely levels of understanding that you need to have in order to like run a legit business. And so, yeah, that's just the way our society is. So yeah, you should go get the license. You should be doing these things properly and making sure that you are up to code with everything, basically. So yeah.
How legit do you want to be? Right. Yeah, it's like more like, how legit do you want to be? Like, if you want to have like a legit to where you're not going to have, the IRS or have to like look behind your back or anything like that, then, but if you're like, we're saying, like, if you're just starting out, you don't have to go enroll in esthetician school or cosmetology or whatever. Like, get some glue, get some tweezers, see if you even like lashes. Like, if you get your lashes done, talk to your lash artist, be like, hey, can you show me? Like, versus you having to go invest all that time, money, and then you realize that you freaking hate it. And you just want to stab people in the eye with tweezers because you're like, I hate this. So,
and I think the other part to be aware of, especially if you're a beginner lash artist or someone that's wanting to pursue lashing, I think the important part would be to realize, like, what type of person are you? Are you wanting to be the entrepreneur where you're running your own business and stuff? Or are you actually just wanting to go and work for somebody and do lashes and get paid consistently? Because that would come into different plays of, like, what you're going to invest in when it comes to a legit course to move forward in your career, right?
Yep, it's so true. And I don't know if, some companies might even pay for you to go to school, if you want to do whatever, like the bigger companies. If you, I don't know, maybe you want to become an esthetician down the line or something, and you get hired to become a receptionist and then you work your way through it, they might pay for your schooling. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get in the world, in the industry and everything like that. But just think about it before we go and spend a lot of money and things like that, because it's literally the Wild West out here. It's wild.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of different opportunities that you're able to take your lash business and your career that way. And so I think just having some more thought behind it than being like, oh, it's just going to be a hobby or it's just going to help me bring in some money, changes a lot of the perspective on what you would actually do or could do. just by thinking about it a little bit more. So being aware of that.
It's true.
But I believe that the lash industry, so like here in Arizona, if you are a cosmetologist or if you are an esthetician and you're wanting to learn lashes, you already have that license. You could be doing lashes. So I think that there's a lot of fear right now regarding like doing trainings in Arizona. And if you're a trainer and you're wanting to train because like that is a significant part of your income, then you need to be targeting cosmetologists or estheticians to come to your training.
Mm-hmm. And not necessarily newbies.
Right. And that's where I find it interesting and probably controversial about how, well, what if you're a trainer and you could be certifying people? There's no like backbone to like certifying people. I don't know. My thought process would be like, there's no backbone to certifying people, and it's up to them to figure out like what their laws and rules are. Who knows what they're doing it? They could literally just learn and do absolutely nothing with it, and that's not on you as a trainer, I don't think. So that's where it's like for those that are wanting to do lashes, going and taking a training will put you that much more farther ahead when the licensing does come out, and then you can go and take that. Who's to say that the qualifications for doing a licensure is even up to what a 10-year lash artist can teach you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's where it's like, okay, I've been to cosmetology school. They are not teaching what you would be doing at a hair salon.
So it's literally just going to be like when we went to beauty school and they're going to be like, oh yeah, here's some tweezers, here's some glue, here's some lashes, here's a doll head. Now you're going to isolate, dip, and place is what they're going to say. And they're not going to teach them
That's my
anything.
thought process. Right, that's my thought process around it. Is still going to be a crappy licensing course, basically, of what you're going to be learning and how confident you're not going to be able to come out of it. That's my thought process around it. I hope that it would not be, but like, it's really hard to say based on what we've seen in the past.
I feel like if you are interested in lashing and want to get the certification, if you want to, and all that good stuff, and because of the limbo, practice now. Like practice. You know, like I said, talk to whoever you can. I mean, Amazon's available. There's so much information everywhere, and you could easily put 2 and 2 together and figure it out. And more to start practicing, start getting in the DMs of companies and start asking people questions, because the more that you do your own research and actually figure it out on your own, I feel like it just sticks better. Like it's I don't know, it's wired in our brain different versus somebody being like, okay, here's your tweezers, here's your whatever, or here's the presentation. That's just how I learn, is from actually physically doing things. I can't sit. I was horrible at school. Was not that kid. I was like, I can't do this. Like, get me out of here. Give me something to do.
Yeah. No, and I don't know if you know who Frankie Widows is.
I love Frankie.
Okay, so she's been around for years, and like back in 2013 when I started, and there was no information. Everybody was gatekeeping. You had to have a license to buy products, even from certain companies. You had to have that whole membership set up. You couldn't even buy products, and because of that, Frankie Widows had so many good YouTube videos to watch and such insightful information. It was interesting just watching one of her reels. She was talking about how like back in the day we had to be freaking resourceful about like what to put on our clients' eyes because it kept opening and causing like chemical burn and like all these different issues, right? So we became resourceful by putting a penny on it or a quarter on it or something like that on the client's eyelid to keep them closed. And she was just like, it just allowed us to be more resourceful. Whereas like right now, a lot of lash artists who are learning are just like, I just need somebody else's information. And it doesn't allow you to be resourceful and really come up with some of that knowledge of figuring it out. And that's what you're saying is the grit of figuring it out. You could do that if you want to go do that. You could also just learn from someone else who can give you all the secrets too. And that can help you with your timeline and your shortcuts to get you further depending on what you're wanting. And that's where it's important figuring out the mentor that's right for that for you. But
And
yeah,
I was going to say, you do mentoring too, don't you?
I do. Yes, I absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun. I have a few different programs where we can do like a coaching call just for the moment, or we can do like a 3-month coaching call. Basically where you're in the program and you're getting ongoing mentoring. And I found that that's what works best for me. For a long time, I never had I wasn't hitting a lot of the goals that I wanted to do. I just had ideas on like, oh, this would be cool, but then never hitting those goals. And for me, as a busy mom and as an entrepreneur and churchgoer and all that kind of stuff, I realized like I need someone to be accountable to, and I needed someone that was going to give me the next step so that I could achieve it faster than me trying to figure it out on my own. And so that's where mentors are so key for that. Don't waste your time. You're going to have to invest, but it's important. So
It's so
yeah.
true. And then do you do classes? You teach, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. So I still do trainings once a month, and they're so much fun. My programs are a little bit different than most. But yeah, I really enjoy those.
What makes you different, or what makes your programs a little bit different?
The difference parts is that it's called an integrated training. And what I mean by that is we'll do a video call first. So we get to know each other, make sure that we're the right fit. We then will have you get online access to all of the training information that you're going to be learning. So you'll get to download the manual. You'll get to have an inside of exactly everything you're going to be learning. And there's quizzes along the way that you're going to have to take, because I found that by doing so many trainings that there would be some people that would show up to the training, they'd get it right away. Like they'd be so good at it. And what I found most common is because they'd be watching YouTube videos before they came. They'd be watching all these other things. So they had a good concept of it and were able to grow on that within the hands-on training. And so that's why I created the online training, basically an online training course where you'll learn everything you need to know. And then you're coming to the 2-day hands-on course. As well as we have 2 live models that you'll get to do. So it's not just seeing only one eye style and thinking that's how majority of clients' lashes are. It's not the case. So I think by having 2, and if we're in a group setting, you're able to see a lot of different lash lines or challenges that might arise when you're a new profession in lashes, as well as ongoing mentoring. So many courses. Can we talk about how so many courses say, yeah, we have ongoing mentoring for life? And it's crickets after a training for most. And so that's the biggest thing that I found. And I really just want you to realize that I've been in it so long and I want to be your best friend and I want you to be so successful as I have been. I love my life and I want you to be able to love that too for yours. And so ongoing mentoring is a lot of fun because then we continue that as a part of our training. So you have 3 coaching calls afterwards to make sure that you're feeling confident in what you're needing and doing, and we can review things. And it's fun when you're living nearby me, so you can come in and we can do that in person if there's challenges that arise for you. So
and then do you offer online too?
Say that again.
Do you offer online?
I don't offer only online courses. For those that are interested on the online courses, we do what's called a practical, so where you would have to submit studies if that's something that you're interested in. We've done that in the past, but I've kind of paused that because the hands-on has been so much more fun, especially after COVID.
Right? Yeah. And people can travel too. It's a write-off. So travel, if anything. Okay, so that's exciting. Because you said, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that they're like, well, I took a course and they said that they're going to mentor me, and then I don't hear anything. I ask them a million questions and they never respond to me. And I'm like, cool. So you paid almost $3,000 for a day and a little tiny kid. Cool. That's great.
Yeah. It's challenging to hear. I've definitely heard those stories quite a few times. And even from some really well-known lash artists within our area.
Yep.
And so it's
Me
so
too.
interesting because I've been like, oh, I actually had a similar experience when I was trained by that person, or things like that. And so it's just really interesting because it's disheartening, knowing that like you're not getting exactly what your intentions were of getting out of a training.
Well, yeah, and it sucks because it's like that's a lot of money that you invested and time
Right.
and effort, and like don't say it if you're not going to do it, because I've heard the same thing. And it's when you tell them something like they actually want to do, the mentorship, or they actually need it, and then you just like ghost them, it doesn't sit well with people.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about it like as a training standpoint, for any listeners that have done trainings, I think sometimes what it comes down to is that like we're not as organized as we thought we were going to be. And
Right.
there's people that like you've trained and they want to do that ongoing mentorship, and then they reach out to you and then you get busy and distracted and don't forget to respond, or nerves come up or life changes, and you're just like, I can't answer those questions, I'm too busy, whatever stuff comes up. And I think it's really important understanding your back end of your business, of how you can be more smoother with that, what your flow looks like, so that you can have those all lined up a little bit better. Because if you do, by adding just these mentor calls that I like schedule out for my students, just by adding that, it's been so insightful to recognize for me as a trainer on like, okay, this is a common thing that's coming up for people. How can I improve this in the training and make it that much better? Or how can I make sure and create a different course specifically around that, right? And sell more of that as well. You can also continue coaching. Like I've had a few students who've been like, I love having this coaching. It helps me be accountable. It helps me remember to like show up for my business and learn the things that I didn't realize I didn't even know. And so as a trainer, you're setting up a continuation of a lead that you can continue to almost benefit from, but you're helping in so many beneficial ways for the student as well. And I think it's very, very business savvy if you're going to be able to do that.
Well, and then you're going to get more returning students, and you're going to get that word of mouth, and that's more income. And it's a snowball effect, because if you don't treat your students the way that you want to be treated, they're going to go tell people, and word spreads fast in this industry.
It can, and that's where it's interesting, because I think that sometimes actually there's a lot more people who aren't talking about like that they didn't get their ongoing mentorship, like it said, because they're like, oh, well, it was loosely used, or maybe I took it wrong, or things like that. So I think there's probably a lot more students out there that thought that they were going to get it, that just kept quiet because they're like, oh, I don't know, maybe it was my fault type of thing. But then for those who are like saying like, yeah, don't go there, like advocate about that. Like I'm actually really like amazed and think that's really powerful, and I respect the hell out of that when people are like, no, I did not get my ongoing mentorship, and I'm going to talk about that. Like, you should. That's a part of your journey. That's a part of your truth. Share that. It will make the industry better. It will make that trainer better, whether they hate it though. But like, it will elevate people in a different way.
Well, and people need to be exposed. I feel like this year, the 2024, is going to be the year of exposure. I hope so. I mean, shit, look what Cat Williams did. He broke the internet. So, in just what me and my boyfriend were talking about, we really think just like all that exposure is going to come out. Like all of the BS is going to come out. All of the shadows, all the fakeness, just the realness is really going to come out. And I really hope it does in the industry though too, because so many people are just fake.
Yeah, it's already starting in the industry. Have you seen the stuff that's going on with Plush and Oak?
I saw a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to stir the pot. It's starting to get things going for others to advocate as well, because they'll see what's happening in one area and they'll be like, well, yeah, actually, it's very similar to what's happened over here, right? And things like that will catch on. And I believe you're so right. I feel like 2024 will be fire.
And it needs
So
to be, because I mean, a lot of these people look up to these brands and these people, and they spend their time, their effort, their money, whatever, and then you meet them and they're freaking phonies, or they don't aren't what they expect to be in person versus online. And I never want to be portrayed as not the same online versus in person. I might be a little bit more shy in person, but once I warm up, like, I'm good, you know? But other than that, I'm just like, it's, ugh. But yeah, you know,
yeah,
it will come out.
yeah, I
All that will come out.
yeah, and it's challenging as a business owner hearing that, right? You're like, well, frick, like that's not my intentions, but like I think that's where it's really important. What are your intentions and how are you achieving that? What are your touch points for your students, for your clients, even, you know, so that you can be on par with that a little bit more to hit the goals, to succeed and keep going and moving forward, and to be really enjoying it, you know. But
It's true, because this industry is beautiful. Like, I mean, it can make you or it can break you. So it's more like, where do you want to go with it? And who do you want to align yourself with? Like, you just have to align yourself with the right companies, the right values, because if you don't, you can go down like the path where you're just like, I don't want to be part of this anymore, because it does
yeah,
get mean girl, it does get catty, and I'm not about
yeah.
that. So
No, it definitely can. I don't know that I've ever seen it be mean girl or catty, but maybe I'm saying more to myself. But I think that the the thing that you mentioned that struck a nerve with me is that, like, yeah, where do you want to go? And I really challenge you to just be super curious on like what are your goals and figure out what those steps look like. For so long I played small and I never realized I was playing small. Like I really thought that like, oh, this is amazing still, you know? And like for so long I was a lash artist from home that was being full-time mom as well as being a lash artist. And I don't know that I was making as well as I thought that I was making after I really sat down and looked at my numbers, right? Like I think that oh, 85 sounds amazing. But no, as a lash mama, you're paying the babysitter 20 or $15 to $20. So there goes that out of the 85 of a fill, okay? But then it's
yeah.
depending on like how many hours did that fill take? Okay, if that's 20 per hour, then it's actually more than that. And for that babysitter, so now I'm way less plus products plus like my overhead for all these things, and it's like I'm making next to pennies. Why is everybody charging 85 or less for fills?
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Especially as a lash mama, you know? So that was just something that I really never realized and understood that like one exactly what my numbers were and what my goals were. And I really think that go and charge more. Please charge more. If we're gonna be the
Yes.
bougiest lash artists, we're charging more, and it will raise the standards. If more lash artists hear what's possible, they'll be like, well, how can I do that too? I think that there is a few majority too that are also mentally like, well, what the frick is going on there? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
not like nobody's ever gonna pay that. And you're right, nobody's ever gonna pay that because you don't know those people. That's not
Exactly.
your circle of friends. Get a new circle of
Mm-hmm.
friends that are willing to pay that, and I guarantee you, you'll be booked.
Exactly. And it's all about your mindset as well. So if you don't think that you
Mm.
can, charge that, then you're not going to be able to charge it. If you don't think that you're worthy of it, then you'll never be able to charge it. And
Yeah,
that's
and I
what
love
I
seeing you
tell
post.
people all the time.
Yes. Yeah, I've been loving seeing you post about that on your stories about like what are you wanting to charge? What are you thinking your worth is? And it's interesting that we tie worth with that a lot, you know, but if you're really subconsciously aware of it, it is somewhat tied there because it's such a subconscious thing that you're not aware of. But yeah,
It totally
I
is.
okay, I'm only gonna say this not for bragging rights whatsoever, but literally because when I heard somebody else was charging more than what I'm charging now, I realized how freaking possible it was and that I wanted to do that too. Why not do that too? So my full sets are 420 and my fills are
Yes.
180.
Hell yes. Dude, that's
And
amazing.
and
People like,
I thought for the longest time I'd never have clients paying that. Like who would ever pay that? I would barely pay that, okay? Like, and like my husband makes good money. We make good money. Like, and I would still barely pay that. And it was such a limiting belief though. And so I think it's really important to just be like, let's test these waters. Let's start doing some market research. Let's start figuring out who those people are and understand that ideal clientele so we can speak to them differently. I have a full clientele paying that, and I've been so amazed and so beyond grateful, and also like, how can I achieve differently moving forward as well? So
Exactly. That's amazing, because a lot of people, they're like, there's no way that somebody would come to me. They will. You just have to know who you're talking to, though, too, and who is your ideal client. And if you don't know, then you can't really like target market them at all.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. Where can people find you on social?
Well, my favorite social to hang out on is Instagram. So I love it when you're able to DM me and be like, hey, girl, I listened to the podcast. Michelle is amazing, or whatever else. That would be at my absolute favorite. But yeah, if you found me on Instagram, that'd be the best way. Otherwise, Facebook for Ida Jane. You can find my page there. But on Instagram, it'd be Ida Jane Lashes. Or you can go to idajanelashes.com and see more of my website.
I love this. Okay, so everybody needs to go follow Morgan right now. She does. So you also have a product line, and you have it. Is it available on your website?
Yes. So if you go to my website, you're able to purchase my products from there. I actually sell a lot of my products through Amazon. And so Amazon is able to ship it for me and take care of you in the best way that I'm not very good at with shipping and being a full-time mom and all this stuff. So Amazon does that for me, which makes it very convenient for checking out as well as getting it really quick. So if you ever drop a tweezer and you're like, I need something that's good quality ASAP, check my product line out on Amazon under Ida Jane.
I love it. Yes, definitely go check her stuff out on Amazon, because it's going to get to you so quick. Like, what, 1-2 days? I mean, who doesn't want that? Especially, like she said, if you drop a tweezer or something, it's going to be super quick. It's going to get to you. You know, it's going to be good quality stuff. So I'm excited. Thank you so much, Morgan. This is going to be a really good episode. I'm really excited for this to drop. So
yeah, it's been really fun. I'm curious though, did you start on Amazon?
I has started doing like all the paperwork. I got the trademark, everything approved through it. So now I just have to do like some more back ends. And yeah, I'm gonna be getting on Amazon, because like Morgan said, like when it comes to the shipping is a pain in the butt. And Amazon just makes it so much easier to where you actually, Morgan has everything shipped from her manufacturer to Amazon, correct?
Yeah.
So it's just so much easier that way.
Yeah, I think from a business standpoint, it's helped my business so much. So yeah, having my manufacturers, the products that I've tested, I have them hand test things as well and send me videos. And then they'll ship it directly to Amazon for me, and then Amazon will ship it directly to you. If you order on my website, I put the order back through Amazon, and Amazon takes care of it and sends it out to you as well. And then if you've ever had any issues, please don't hesitate to reach out. I try to make sure and say that and include that as a part of my packaging from Amazon. But yeah, I think that's really cool. I'm excited for you to be able to do all that kind of stuff with your business. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. I'm excited.
Yeah, and if you guys have questions, or if you guys have a brand or anything like that and want to learn more about Amazon, definitely reach out to Morgan, because she's the one that told me about everything, and I've kind of already asked her questions about it, because I'd be like, Amazon, really? You know? But when you think about it, like Amazon's changed so much over the years, and this is a great opportunity for us to get our brand out there and make it a little bit easier on us as the actual lash artist creator and everything else that we do within our wheelhouse of things. So
yeah.
Yay. Thank you so much. And make sure that you guys go follow Morgan. And thank you for coming on to the blog today.
Thank you. I've loved it. It's been so much fun. I love talking about some of the deeper stuff, I think sometimes it's really
Yes.
easy to be like very surface level and like life's good, lashes are amazing, this is golden, right? But thanks for going a little bit deeper and willing to share
Oh, yes.
controversial thoughts. And I know that sometimes they can be more opinions than facts for sure. But just being able to hear each other out and to just take that moment of curiosity and being willing to open minded and have that conversation I love. So thanks.
Yes. Thank you. All right, guys. I will see you next time. Bye. Okay.